Hey, what's going on, guys? It's John back with another video, and today is going to be part 2 of our music theory basics series. The first video was a little bit lengthy, so this one is going to be relatively quick. I'm going to go through just a review of what we did in that last video, and then we're going to move on to the new stuff. This video is going to be the last one, at least for right now, for the music theory basics. I feel that after this video, you guys are going to have a lot of stuff that you have at your disposal to work on, so that you guys can start getting this stuff and applying it to your playing. Okay, so let's go on ahead and jump right into it without any further ado. We're going to start off with our interval ruler again, because this is going to come important when we start learning some new concepts today. So this is just a quick review. Remember, if you haven't watched the last video, go on ahead and watch that video. I go a little bit more in depth in all these different topics, but today we're just going to kind of run through them really quickly so we can get to the new content. Starting off with the interval ruler, it's telling me right now where I am. Right now I'm at unison, C. Okay, I haven't moved anywhere. If I move a distance from C to C sharp, I get a minor second. C to C sharp is a minor second. Okay, if I move from C to D, I get a major second. Okay, so as I move across this ruler, I get my different intervals. Okay, now any notes can be plugged into here and it'll show me the interval relationship between that note. As an example, C to F is going to be a perfect fourth. Okay, C to G is going to be a perfect fifth, and C to B is going to be a major seventh. Okay, the amount of the blue line that you're seeing on the screen is representative of how much distance is being passed. So as you can hear, this major seventh, it sounds really opened up. Whereas if I were to play, let's say, a major second, you can see that that distance is really short versus, okay, let's take our interval ruler and let's apply some different notes to it. In this example, I'm starting from A, counting up every single note starting from A, okay? So if you start on A, and let's go to perfect fourth, it tells me that the distance between A and D is going to be a perfect fourth. Okay, what about that perfect fifth? It's telling me A to E. How about that major seventh? It's telling me A to G sharp. Okay. Next, we're moving on to the circle of fifths. Now, the reason why I went through those intervals was because now we need to build our circle of fifths. And as you can see, all of our notes are basically organized in this circle, but there's a specific way that they're organized. Going clockwise, starting from C at the top, we're moving in intervals of a fifth. Okay, C to G is a fifth, G to D is a perfect fifth, D to A is a perfect fifth, and so on and so forth till you get down to the bottom of the circle at F sharp / G flat. Moving counterclockwise around the circle, starting on C, we're moving in perfect fourths. C to F is a perfect fourth, F to B flat is a perfect fourth, and so on and so forth till you get to the bottom of the circle, right down there again at F sharp / G flat. That's how you build the first ring of your circle of fifths, okay? This is just showing the relationship between these notes in fifths. But we're not going to think of them as notes, okay? We're going to think of them as keys. So when you see the note C, think of not just the note C, but the key of C, okay? The outer ring of the circle is showing you how many sharps or flats are within that said key, okay? And in this particular case, we're talking about major keys. C major, G major, D major, A major, so on and so forth. The key of C has 0 sharps and 0 flats. If you move all the way down to the bottom of the circle where you see F sharp or G flat, that actually has 6 sharps or 6 flats in it. Okay, so you go from 0 to having either 6 sharps or 6 flats in any of these different keys. As you can see, we go clockwise around the circle. We add 1 sharp each time. Moving counterclockwise, we add 1 flat each time until we reach the bottom of the circle. This outer ring tells us how many sharps or flats are within those keys, but it doesn't tell us which ones are sharp or flat. It doesn't tell us which notes are sharp or flat in that key. So we have our order of sharps and our order of flats. Our order of sharps is just our circle of fifths starting from F. So as you can see, F, C, G, D, A, E, and B is actually our order of sharps. Our order of flats is actually that sequence of notes, but backwards. B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Now, how do we use this? Well, I'll show you. On the left side of the screen, you can see that I've written out the shells for each of these scales. And this is very simple. All you have to do is start with whatever note it is that you want to get the major scale for, and you write out all of those letters to your starting letter. Okay, as an example, I wrote out C to C. I wrote out G to G, D to D, A to A, and so on and so forth. Then what we're going to do is use our circle of fifths to tell us within those sequence of notes which ones are going to be sharp and which ones are going to be flat. If you look at the C major scale, the C major scale has 0 sharps and 0 flats. So that one's good. If you were to play that sequence of notes, you would get this. Okay? That is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? Let's move on to our G major scale. Here's what the shell of that scale sounds like without us putting any sharps in it. See how that sounds different from our C scale? We're going to use our circle of fifths to tell us which note we need to sharp within that G major scale to get it to sound like our C major scale. Okay? If you look at the circle of fifths, it says that the key of G has 1 sharp. Well, if we look at our order of sharps, the first sharp in our order is going to be F. That means that we need to sharp F in the key of G major. Now that we've sharped F, I'm going to show you how this scale sounds with that sharp. It sounds almost exactly the same as our C major scale. So this shows that our circle of fifths is correct. You can do the same thing moving through all of the scales using the same concept of first building out the shell and then using the circle of fifths to fill in which notes are sharp and which notes are flat. As you can see on the left hand side of the screen, I've already done that for you. So if you want to pause the video right here and take a snapshot, you can have all your major scales right now so that you can practice those. But as you can see, the key of D has 2 sharps in it. It has an F sharp and a C sharp. If you look at our order of sharps, the first 2 sharps are F and C. So if I were to play that D major scale, we can see that the chart is accurate as well as our circle of fifths. And if you're paying attention, you'll also notice that each succession of keys that has more sharps in it always has the same sharps from the previous key. The key of D shares F sharp as in the G scale. However, the E scale shares F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp from the major scales of A, D, and G respectively. If we move down to our flat keys, the concept is still the same. Even though it's flat, it's still the same. In the key of F, we have a B flat. If I were to play that for you, it sounds just as major as our other scales. The inner ring of the circle is going to show you your relative minor keys, okay? Now, a relative minor key is just simply telling you which keys share the same notes between that relative major key, okay? In this example, as we can see in our circle, both the key of C major and A minor, which is in the inner circle, share the same notes. Let's take a look. As you can see, the A minor scale has 0 sharps and 0 flats. And here's what A minor sounds like. To contrast, here are those same exact notes except starting on C. So as you can see, the A minor scale is simply the C scale, but starting on the note A. This is also something known as a mode, which is where we take any starting note within our scale and simply play the scale starting from that note. The minor scale happens to be called the Aeolian mode. There are many other different modes within the scale, but the most common is going to be your minor. As you can see our major scales and minor scales side by side, you can see that they share the same number of sharps and flats in their relative minor or major keys. Now that we know our scales, let's put numbers to them. So for this series of examples, I'm going to be using the key of C major. C would be 1, D 2, E 3, and so on and so forth as you see on the screen. We're going to use this method of numbering our notes or pitches to complete formulas for chords. And a chord is just a collection of notes that are sounded together. Okay? There are 4 basic chords that you want to know, the most common of them being major and minor chords. If you know major and minor chords, you know just about 80% of songs out there, if not most of them. The formula for our major chord is going to be a 1 3 5. Minor, 1 flat 3 5. Diminished, 1 flat 3 flat 5. Augmented, 1 3 sharp 5. Let's take a look at this in practice. If we look at this C major chord, we see that we're playing the notes C, E, and G. This would be considered a C major chord. If we take a look at a C minor chord, we're playing a 1 flat 3 5. C, E flat, and G. As you can see, the only alteration that I made was taking this E and lowering it by 1, flatting it. So, for comparison, here's my C major chord, and here's my C minor chord. As you can see, the outer shell of this chord is still the same, with both the 1 and the 5 not being altered, with only the middle note being altered. C diminished, we will be playing a 1, flat 3, flat 5. Our augmented chord keeps the 1 and the 3 the same, but alters the 5th again. In this case, we're going to be raising the 5th by 1. I'm going to play my 1, which is C, 3, which is E, and sharp 5, which is going to be a G sharp. These 4 basic chords are used in most popular music today, and if you master those 4 chords, then you'll be able to play pretty much any song. But let's move on to some advanced chords. We have our 7th chords, okay, which are basically, you can see those as extensions of our triads. These are 4-note chords. We'll be playing a 1, 3, 5, and a 7. If you remember from when we were looking at our intervals, the interval of a major 7th, if we're starting on C, would be from the notes C to B. Hence why we call this chord a major 7th. But I'm going to play the whole chord for you. We're going to play our 1, 3, 5, and 7. That's our C major 7 chord. C minor 7th is going to be that same formula, but with a flatted 3rd and a flatted 7th. So we'll play a 1, flat 3, 5, which is our C minor, but this time instead of playing a normal 7th, we're going to play a flatted 7th. And then we have our C7 chord, which we call a dominant 7, okay? This one, we're going to have a major chord at the top with a flatted 7th at the end of it. So we're going to play a 1, 3, 5, and a flat 7. Remember that these concepts can be applied to different keys, not just the key of C. So if you understand these concepts for these chords, you can then learn these chords in any key of your choosing. Just simply look at the scales, number them out, and then use these formulas and plug them in to actually play the chords. Doing this will help you understand how chords are built, and you'll be able to actually read chords that you've never seen before by using the concepts that we learned in this video. If this video was helpful to you guys, go on ahead and like, share, and comment down below. If you want to see more content like this, go on ahead and subscribe. That's going to be it for this one, guys. You have a good one.